Hello everybody, we are back with section 1.2 and 1.2 is called Exponents in the Order of Operations. So hopefully again some of this stuff is just a review for you. So exponents in order of operations. So we use exponents as a way to abbreviate repeated multiplication, so it's shorthand. So if we were given something like 3 squared, this is the base. So this is the number being multiplied repeatedly. Okay, now the 2 is called the exponent, and this is how many times 2, not gonna have enough room there, 2 multiply the base, okay, and this is all in your notes. So 3 squared, 3 is the base, that's the number being multiplied repeatedly. The exponent is telling you how many times to multiply that base. So in this particular problem, 3 squared, this is saying to do 3 times 3. It's telling you to multiply itself 2 times, not 3 times 2, that's 6, that's wrong. This is 3 times 3 gives you 9, so 3 squared would be 9, okay? So let's do some more. So if you were given 9 squared, okay, this is the same as doing 9 times 9. 9 is the base, it's squared, it's saying 2 times, so 9 times 9 is 81, okay? Let's say you were given 2 cubed or 2 to the 3rd power, either one's fine. The base is 2, and it's saying that we need to multiply it 3 times from the exponent. So this is 2 times 2 times 2. So you're going to do 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. And your answer is 8. Okay? Let's say they gave you 1 to the 4th power. 1 to the 4th power. Well, all you're doing here is 1 times 1 times 1 times 1. 4 times. Well, 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1. Your answer is 1. Okay, so don't let that trip you up. Your answer is not 4, it's 1. Okay? It's 1. So whole numbers, not too bad. Now, when we start getting into negatives, this is where it can get a smidge tricky. Okay, you can do it, you just have to really pay close attention. So if you were given -4 squared, -4 squared, now you notice that that -4 is in parentheses, okay? That means that the negative is included with the base. So the negative is also being multiplied, okay? So this is telling us it needs to be multiplied 2 times. So this is doing -4 times -4, okay? We're going to be getting into multiplication later on, but just for a shortcut, negative times a negative becomes a positive, okay? So -4 times -4 ends up being positive 16, okay? So don't let that trip you up. Now, if they gave you -4 squared, now notice this time, the negative is not included in parentheses. That means you're not multiplying the negative, okay? This is telling you 4 times 4 is 16, but I have a negative out in front, which means my answer will be -16, okay? That negative was not to be multiplied with the 4, okay? This was separate, all right? So make sure you study those, make sure you have them written down. You will see those again, okay? If they had a -5 in parentheses to the 4th power, okay? Once again, that negative is not in the parentheses, which means it's not being multiplied 4 times. So you're going to do first 5 times 5, times 5 times 5, which gives you 625. We have the negative out in front, so that means our answer is negative, okay? Our answer is negative. If you were given -3 cubed, This time the negative is in the parentheses. That means you need to multiply it. So this time you're doing -3 times -3 times -3. So 3 times 3 times 3 gives you 27. Now you have to remember your rules with negatives, which we're getting into here in the next couple sections, but hopefully you remember that a negative times a negative is positive. Positive times a negative is a negative. Also, you can remember, this is a trick as well, if that negative was included, you can base it off of your exponent. If it's an even number, 2, 4, 6, 8, then the negatives cancel and your answer is positive. If it's an odd number, like it is here with a 3, 3, 5, 7, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, an odd number, then your negative stays, it doesn't cancel, okay? All right, let's say you were given 7 to the first power. Well, that just means you're multiplying it by itself, and your answer's 7, okay? All right, let's say you were given 9 to the 0 power. Your answer is not 0. 9 to the 0 power is 1. So, any number raised to the 0 power is 1. This is important. Do not miss this on your test or your homework, okay? It's very easy. Any number raised to the 0 power is 1. 125 to the 0 power, 1. 5,280 to the 0 power is going to be 1. Okay, so make sure you remember that. All right, so now we can go ahead and move on to order of operations. Hopefully this is something that you remember. You might remember PEMDAS. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. I've heard all kinds of other rhymes to remember it, whatever works for you. So this is order of operations, okay? PEMDAS, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So when we're solving a problem, the first thing we're always going to look for is there a grouping symbol? Is there a set of parentheses? So that's the first thing we're looking for, is parentheses. That's our very first step. Is there parentheses? If not, we move on to the E. Then we see, are there exponents? Okay, so after we look for exponents, let's say there's no exponents, then we're going to move on to the M and the D. So this is multiplication and division. I'm sorry guys, I have terrible handwriting. Multiplication and division. Now what you need to remember here is it's multiplication or division as it occurs from left to right. So you have parentheses, exponents. Then we're looking for, is there multiplication or division as it occurs from left to right? So whatever comes first. If multiplication comes first, we're going to handle the multiplication. If the division comes first, we're going to handle the division. Okay? Next, we would look for addition or subtraction as it occurs from left to right, okay? Same thing as the multiplication or division. So after we've looked for parentheses, we've looked for exponents, we've handled multiplication or division, then we get down to the addition or subtraction, and it is whatever occurs first. So typically the mistakes that I see with order of operation problems happen with the adding and subtraction, the easiest part of the whole problem. Everyone usually does great all the way up until they get to adding and subtracting, and then we tend to make our own rules. It doesn't work that way. You have to handle it as it comes. If there's adding first, you got to add first. If you're subtracting first, you got to subtract first. It takes, you end up with a completely different answer if you make up your own rules and you start doing what you want, okay? So you have to follow this set of rules. All right, so let's go ahead and do some order of operation problems. And I'll just go ahead and put this up here for reference. Okay, our good old PEMDAS. Let's do a couple problems. So let's say we were given 5 times 7 minus 3 times 6. So order of operations, are there parentheses? Nope. Are there exponents? Nope. Is there multiplication or division? Yes. What's occurring first? The multiplication. So that's what we're going to handle. So then you would go ahead and do 5 times 7, which is 35, minus 3 times 6. Now I know you could probably go ahead and do the 3 times 6 in the same step. My suggestion with order of operation problems, especially as they get larger, is to do one step at a time so that you don't get something confused and do a completely incorrect step. Also, with doing these problems, take your time in recopying the rest of the problem down, okay? Don't change this to a division sign, okay? It does happen. I've seen stuff written down incorrectly just from trying to rewrite the rest of the problem, so take your time. All right, so now I have 35 minus 3 times 6 is 18. Now we're left with subtraction, so 35 minus 18 is 17, okay? So easy problem, short problem. Okay, let's do 7 plus 3 times 6 plus 4, okay? First thing we're going to look for, are there parentheses? Yes. So we're going to handle the operations inside the parentheses first. So I'm going to recopy everything else. The 7 plus 3 is going to stay. Now I'm doing 6 plus 4 is 10. Notice I'm keeping it in the parentheses for now because that is signaling to me that this needs to be multiplication 3 times 10, okay? So now we need to go ahead and handle 3 times 10 because it's multiplication, right? There's no exponents. 3 times 10 is the multiplication, which would give me 30. And then I'm left to add 7 plus 30 is 37. So hopefully some of this is coming back to you, okay? Let's do one simple one with decimals. They could throw some decimals out at you, okay? You're not doing anything different except you got to type in decimals into your calculator. So let's go ahead and look at 0.03 times the quantity of 5.5 plus 0.02. So first thing we're going to look for, are there parentheses? Yes. So that's what we need to handle first. So it's addition in the parentheses. So let's go ahead and copy down the 0.03. So 5.5 plus 0.02 is 5.52. And once again, I kept the parentheses because this is signaling multiplication with the 0.03. So now I would multiply those two numbers to get 0.1656. Okay? So once again, nothing too crazy, nothing too difficult. All right, let's go ahead and look at, let's do this one. 5.7 plus 14 times the quantity of 2.4 squared. So the first thing we're going to look for, are there parentheses? Technically, there is, right? We see parentheses, but there's nothing going on inside this set of parentheses. There's no other operations going on. So that means we need to move on to exponents. This parenthesis was letting us know there's an exponent of 2. Okay, so now you need to do 2.4 times 2.4, recopy everything else. So 2.4 times 2.4 is 5.76. Okay, now order of operations. I've done parentheses, exponents, multiplication or division. Well, there's multiplication going on, so I'm going to do 14 times 5.76. So I have 5.7 plus 14 times 5.76 is 80.64. Okay, now that we handled multiplication, there was no division. We're going to look to add and subtract. There's addition, so we're going to go ahead and add for a total of 86.34. Okay, all right, a couple more to do. We're going to do some larger ones here in a second. Let's look at this one. This is an absolute value of 2 times 3 squared plus 5 times 2 squared, and they're in absolute value bars. Well, I can't find the absolute value of any number until I have performed all the operations inside. So we're still going to go ahead and use order of operations. Are there parentheses? Nope. Are there exponents? Yes. So we can go ahead and tackle the two exponents. So now I have the absolute value of 2 times 3 squared is 3 times 3, that's 9. Plus, I have 5 times 2 times 2 is 4. So I still have, remember these are absolute value bars, okay? That's not 12 and 41, absolute value bars, okay? Now I'm moving on to multiplication or division. Well, there's multiplication, so we can go ahead and tackle that. So I have absolute value of 2 times 9 is 18, plus 5 times 4 is 20. And now I'm doing 18 plus 20, absolute value of 38, and we know the absolute value of 38 is your final answer, okay? So I hope this is coming back to you. It isn't too difficult. Let's go ahead and tackle 2 large problems, and then we'll move on, okay? Let's go ahead and look at 6 times 3 squared plus 64 divided by 2 to the 4th minus 2. Okay, so this one's a little larger. We can handle it. First thing, are there parentheses? No. Are there exponents? Yes. So that's what we're going to do first. So I have 6 times 3 squared. 3 times 3 is 9. Plus 64 divided by 2 to the 4th. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 gives you 16. And I have our minus 2. Okay? Now that we've handled the exponents, now we're looking at multiplication or division. Well, I have both. I have multiplication and division. You're going to do what occurs first. So I have 6 times 9 is being first, and that's 54, plus the 64 divided by 16 minus 2. Now we can handle the division, 64 divided by 16. So I have 54 plus 4, and I still have our minus 2 to bring down. Now we're looking at adding and subtracting. You need to do what occurs first. Adding is first. That's what you need to do. So 54 plus 4, 58 minus 2 is 56. So as long as you take the problem one step at a time, you remember the rules, you take your time writing the rest of the steps down, you'll be just fine. Okay? Let's do one more large one. Let's do 5 plus 3 times a quantity of 24 minus 5 times a quantity of 6 minus 2. So you notice we have some different grouping symbols this time. We have the parentheses and we have the brackets, okay? The parentheses and the brackets. You always start with your innermost grouping symbol, which is the parentheses. So that's where you're going to start first, is right here in the parentheses, okay? So now I have 5 plus 3 times, now we have the 24 minus 5 times 6 minus 2 is 4, okay? Now that we've handled that grouping symbol, we move to the next grouping symbol, which are these brackets. So now we're going to go ahead and do everything else that's in these brackets, okay? Order of operations, I have subtraction and multiplication, so I need to multiply first. So I still have 5 plus 3 times the 24 minus 5 times 4 gives us 20. So we're almost done with this grouping symbol. Now I can subtract, okay? So I have 5 plus 3 times 24 minus 20 is 4. Now, those brackets mean the same thing as multiplication. So now we can multiply 3 times 4. So I have 5 plus 12. We can add those together for an answer of 17, okay? So I hope that wasn't too bad for you, that you remember some of this, okay? The last thing in this section, so it was a little bit of a longer section, is dealing with algebraic expressions, okay? Algebraic expressions. All an algebraic expression is an expression that contains combinations of numbers, variables, operation, and grouping symbols, okay? So it's got a little bit of everything like what we've been doing, okay? So the first thing they're going to say is to find the value of 5x plus, that's a 2, 2y minus 10 when x is 4 and y is 3. Okay? So basically what we're going to be doing is what's called substitution. We're going to be substituting in values for variables. Now variables, right, are our letters. Okay? So we're just going to be substituting those in. So we need to start out with our, our algebraic expression. This is an expression, 5x plus 2y minus 10. My suggestion is you're going to go ahead and put in parentheses for the variables, and then make sure you put the correct value in for the variable, especially since we have two different variables going on. So we have 5 times, in parentheses, the x. Well, x is 4, plus 2 times y. Well, y is 3, minus 10. And we're going to solve. Use order of operations. So no parentheses, right, because this is signaling multiplication. No exponents. Now we're dealing with multiplication. So 5 times 4 is 20, plus 2 times 3 is 6, minus 10. Okay? Now order of operations, we're looking at adding and subtracting. You need to do whatever comes first. So here we have 20 plus 6 is 26, minus 10 for a final answer of 16. Okay? So they're going to ask you to do a couple problems like this. I don't think it's anything you can't handle. It's nothing too difficult. But we'll go ahead and do a couple more examples, just so you have that explanation. So now we're going to find the value of x plus 3 squared when x is negative 3. When x is negative 3. Okay? So same thing, we're going to go ahead and substitute the negative 3 in for the variable x. So I have my parenthesis, I'm going to go ahead and put the negative 3 in parentheses, plus 3 squared. So now we're handling inside the parentheses. Okay, that's first. So negative 3 plus 3 becomes 0. So now I have 0 squared. Well, 0 times 0 is just 0. Okay, so our answer for that problem is 0. All right, let's do another. Let's go ahead and find the value of x squared plus 6x plus 9 when x is negative 3. Now, if you noticed, I've been putting our values for our variables into the equation, or the expression, I'm sorry, and I've put them in parentheses. I do this because we have a negative, and it's important to know if that negative is going to be included or not included. As you can see, we have a square going on, right? We have an exponent. So now I have negative 3 that's being squared, plus 6 times negative 3 plus 9 when I do that substitution. And as you can see, I put this in parentheses because that negative is with that 3. It's included and is also being squared. Okay, so now we're doing order of operations. We're going to go ahead and handle the exponents. So negative 3 times a negative 3 is a positive 9. Now we're moving on to multiplication or division. I have multiplication. 6 times negative 3 becomes a negative 18. Okay, and from here we have adding and subtracting. We're going to do whatever occurs first. So here I'm doing 9 plus negative 18. Well, that's a negative 9. Plus 9 is 0. Okay. All right, there's a couple more examples in the notes. Also your book. If you continue to have issues, please reach out to me. I haven't been hearing a lot from you guys, so I'm hoping that means everybody's okay. If not, though, please send me a message so I can help you out. All right, thanks.